A sharp crack echoed through the crowded downtown intersection as a speeding delivery truck ignored a red light and barreled toward a black luxury sedan. Hundreds of people screamed, convinced they were about to witness a tragedy in broad daylight. But before anyone could react, the sedan's newly hired driver jerked the steering wheel with impossible precision, forcing the vehicle through a gap barely wider than the mirrors. The truck thundered past just inches away, leaving shattered glass scattered across the sunlit pavement. The billionaire sitting in the back seat stared at the calm man behind the wheel, unable to understand how someone applying for an ordinary driver's job had reacted with the speed and discipline of a battlefield veteran. What she didn't know was that the quiet single father who had just saved her life had once survived missions few people would ever hear about, and had spent years trying to forget every one of them. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances still exist, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel. Every bit of support helps our community continue sharing stories that remind us that one act of compassion can change countless lives. The bright morning sunshine reflected from the glass towers of Alder City as Garrett Holloway parked the sedan outside the headquarters of Hartwell Innovations. At 38 years old, Garrett looked like any hard-working father trying to rebuild his life. Every weekday morning began before sunrise as he prepared breakfast for his 9-year-old daughter, Nora, braided her hair with clumsy determination, packed her lunch, and walked her to school before reporting for work. Few people knew that only 3 years earlier Garrett had worn a military uniform instead of a business suit. After years serving as a Navy SEAL, he returned home carrying invisible scars that no medical scan could reveal. His wife had passed away from a sudden illness during his final deployment, leaving him to learn how to be both mother and father while quietly fighting memories he rarely spoke about. Finding stable work proved harder than he expected. Companies admired his discipline but questioned whether military experience fit civilian life. Savings disappeared. Bills multiplied. There were afternoons when Garrett skipped lunch so Nora could continue attending music lessons she loved. Pride never allowed him to ask for charity. He simply kept applying for jobs until one interview changed everything. Across town, Vivian Ashcroft had spent 2 decades transforming a small engineering company into one of the country's fastest-growing technology firms. At 41, she was admired for her intelligence and respected for her leadership, but success came with isolation. Every newspaper described her as fearless. In truth, the constant pressure of protecting thousands of employees weighed heavily on her shoulders. After several executives betrayed her trust during a failed takeover attempt, she found herself questioning nearly everyone around her. When her longtime driver retired, Vivian interviewed dozens of applicants. Most boasted impressive resumes. Garrett offered only honesty. He admitted that driving professionally was new to him, but protecting people under pressure was not. Something about his quiet confidence convinced Vivian to give him an opportunity. From the very first day, Garrett distinguished himself not through words but through careful attention. He memorized alternate routes to avoid traffic, inspected every vehicle before leaving, and always arrived early. He never treated the position as beneath him. Every responsibility, no matter how ordinary, deserved his full commitment. Outside the office, life remained difficult. Nora struggled with the loss of her mother and often pretended to smile so her father would not worry. Garrett carried his own grief silently, believing strength meant hiding pain. Their tiny rented home was filled with love but also with unanswered questions about the future. Vivian gradually noticed small details. Garrett always declined expensive lunches, choosing simple homemade sandwiches instead. During breaks he sat beneath a tree reading children's science books, hoping to help Nora with homework later that evening. Every Friday afternoon he hurried away exactly on time because he refused to make his daughter wait outside school. One sunny afternoon, Vivian happened to witness Garrett comforting an elderly stranger whose shopping bags had burst open across a busy sidewalk. Without hesitation he knelt on the pavement, gathered every item, and carried the groceries home for the woman before returning to work without mentioning it. She began realizing that character often revealed itself in moments no one believed were being observed. Several weeks later, Hartwell Innovations hosted a public technology exhibition in the city square. Families, students, journalists, and investors filled the plaza beneath clear blue skies. Vivian spent the afternoon greeting visitors while Garrett remained quietly nearby, watching the surroundings with habits developed over years of military service. Then everything changed. A delivery van unexpectedly accelerated through a pedestrian-only area after its driver suffered a medical emergency. The heavy vehicle headed directly toward a group of schoolchildren crossing the plaza. Without hesitation, Garrett sprinted forward. His training took over. He calculated distances almost instantly, pulled two children out of danger, directed terrified pedestrians toward safety, and reached the driver's door seconds before impact. Managing to turn the steering wheel just enough, he redirected the van into a decorative fountain where it stopped without striking the crowd. The entire rescue lasted less than 15 seconds. News cameras captured every moment. By evening, headlines praised the mysterious driver who had saved dozens of lives. Reporters quickly uncovered Garrett's military background, and suddenly he found himself surrounded by attention he never wanted. When journalists called him a hero, Garrett quietly corrected them. He insisted that real heroes included paramedics, teachers, firefighters, nurses, parents, and ordinary people who chose courage every single day without expecting recognition. His humility impressed millions. Yet fame brought unexpected challenges. A former business rival of Vivian falsely claimed Garrett had been hired only because of his military reputation, attempting to damage the company's credibility. Rumors spread online, questioning both Garrett's qualifications and Vivian's judgment. Many executives advised Vivian to quietly distance herself from the controversy. Instead, she called a press conference beneath the afternoon sun. Standing before employees and reporters, she explained that Garrett had never been hired because of medals or headlines. He was hired because integrity could not be taught, purchased, or fabricated. She trusted him long before the public knew his story. The applause that followed echoed across the plaza. For Garrett, however, the greatest reward came later that evening when Nora wrapped her arms around him after school and proudly told him she no longer feared people forgetting her mother because she believed her mother's kindness still lived inside him. Those simple words reached places inside Garrett that years of counseling had struggled to heal. Inspired by everything they had experienced together, Vivian launched a company initiative supporting military families, single parents, and caregivers returning to civilian careers. Instead of offering charity, the program focused on meaningful employment, mentorship, and practical opportunities. Garrett helped design the training curriculum. He reminded every participant that asking for a chance was never weakness. Giving someone a chance was strength. Over the following years, hundreds of families rebuilt their lives through the program. Many participants later returned as mentors themselves, creating a cycle of compassion that extended far beyond the walls of Hartwell Innovations. One warm spring afternoon, Vivian invited Garrett and Nora to the grand opening of a new community learning center funded by the company. Children filled classrooms with laughter while veterans taught woodworking, engineers mentored teenagers, and parents attended career workshops. Near the entrance stood a simple bronze plaque. It didn't mention billionaires or business success. Instead, it read, "The strongest people are not those who never fall. They are the ones who use their strength to lift someone else after they rise." Garrett paused before the plaque, realizing how different his life had become. He once believed his military service represented the most meaningful chapter of his life. Now he understood that protecting one little girl, raising his daughter with love, and helping others rebuild their futures required an equally remarkable kind of courage. Vivian reached the same realization. Success had never truly been measured by wealth. It was measured by the number of lives made safer, stronger, and more hopeful because someone chose compassion over fear. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment and tell us, do you believe one person deserves a second chance, even if life has left them carrying invisible scars. Your words may encourage someone who needs hope today. As another beautiful afternoon bathed the learning center in golden sunlight, Garrett watched Nora laughing with new friends while families gathered across the courtyard. He smiled with quiet gratitude, knowing that the greatest mission of his life had never been completed on a battlefield. It had been accomplished one ordinary day at a time, through love, patience, sacrifice, and the courage to begin again. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Together, our community can remind the world that true strength isn't found in power, wealth, or titles. It is found in the people who choose to protect, forgive, and believe in others when they need it most. Sometimes destiny doesn't arrive wearing medals or expensive suits. Sometimes it sits quietly behind the wheel, carrying a broken heart, raising a child alone, and waiting for one opportunity to prove that the greatest heroes are often the ones who never stop serving others, even after the hardest battles are over.